name, but you all have a copy of her bio. Her name is Miss Glinda Bridgforth, and she is with Bridgeforth in Financial Services. Bridgeforth Financial Services, did I get it right? Close enough, I'm sorry. Okay, so Miss Bridgeforth, she is an author, and she has written a book through Essence called Girl, Get Your Money Straight. She has been in the banking industry for many years before striking out on her own. She is very passionate and dedicated about helping individuals with their personal finances, and she's going to talk to you and give us our special message for this morning. So I'll turn this mic over now to Ms. Bridgforth.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Glinda Bridgforth, and I am very excited and thrilled to be here with you today. Thank you all so much for coming out. I think you should give yourselves a round of applause for coming out on a morning such as this. I'm very excited and happy to be here. Again, my name is Glinda Bridgforth, and I am a financial coach. What I do is I work with people and help them with cash flow and debt management issues. And it is true, I have written some books. The first book that I wrote, it was called Girl, Get Your Money Straight. The second book that I co-authored was called Girl, Make Your Money Grow. And the last book that I wrote was called Girl, Get Your Credit Straight. Now, I do want to say for all the gentlemen that are here in the audience, just because my books were geared towards girls, it does not mean that this information is not for you as well. Because what I have found is that the information is really universal. When we talk about money and money management, the tips and the tools and the strategies that you're going to hear today and that I'm going to share with you, these are things that are universal. Now, I started out in the banking industry. I was in banking for 12 years, and being in banking was a really wonderful opportunity for me, and during that time, I actually managed over $90 million worth of assets for the bank. And I did a really good job of managing the bank's assets, but at the same time, my personal finances was a whole different story. And so even though I was an individual at that point and making over 6 figures in terms of income, what I found is that I was still living paycheck to paycheck. Because basically what happens is, every time I said, well, gee, I need to make more money, I need to make more money, what I did was I just spent more money. Oh, so a few of you can relate to that? Okay, all right, I saw a couple of heads, I heard some not, some amens up here, but anyway, so I know that my situation was not unique. And in terms of what my situation eventually ended up at was, yes, I was making 6-figure income, I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I just kept spending and kept spending. And it actually got to a point where I was near bankruptcy. And I had income property that was in foreclosure. I had the home I was living in was getting ready to go into foreclosure. I was a bank manager, and I had managed this $90 million for the bank, but it's something different when you start to look at your own personal finances. And so what eventually happened is that I got to a point where I owed over $50,000 in unsecured credit, meaning credit cards and lines of credit and so forth, because every time, you know, the bank would send me a credit card, you know, I would say, well, you know, I'm just going to keep this card and I'm going to use it for emergency purposes. You guys know how many emergency cruises I had to take? I mean, it was stressful being in banking, you know, it's stressful living life. And so, you know, I had the credit card, and because I, you know, didn't have these healthy behaviors with money, what I did was I just ran that credit up. So it got to the point where I owed over $50,000 worth of debt. And at that point, I knew that I had to do something different. And so I reached out to try to get some help. I went to a consumer credit agency. They said, oh, your situation is so bad, you need to file for bankruptcy. And so I went and I talked to a couple of bankruptcy attorneys, and they said, oh yeah, your situation is bad, you need to file for bankruptcy. But I knew in my heart and in my soul that that was not what I really wanted to do. Morally, it just didn't feel like the right thing. So what I did was I had to move my ego out of the way, and I reached out and I got the help from a financial coach, someone much like myself who specialized in cash flow and debt management issues. And in the process, what I learned was that I was able to pay off that $50,000 worth of debt. I did it the old-fashioned way. I did it $20 at a time. you know? And so the thing that happened is that I really felt, well, gee, if I could go through this process and learn how to do this, I think I could teach this to other people. So that's when I started my business, and that was 24 years ago. And 24 years ago is when I started specializing in working with people who had cash flow and debt management issues. Now, the topic of retirement and being prepared for retirement is very, very important to me. It's really upfront and personal, and I'll tell you why. I just had a birthday, and so now I can officially receive Social Security if I choose to. Isn't that something? I know I only look like I'm, 25, 35, 45, but yes, 35. Thank you, God bless you. Bless your heart.
That's what I am.
All right, you are, okay. Well, yes, I can officially receive Social Security, but I'm choosing not to do that at this point. But not only myself, but also, my peers, my friends, all of us are kind of around the same age, and what we're looking at is the subject of retirement, and we're looking at the fact that many of us, and I know some of you here in the room, are really caught in that sandwich generation. Because not only do we have elders that we need to take care of, and not only do we need to prepare for our own retirement, but we also have children, perhaps, that may need some help. That you guys have heard about that boomerang. They're boomerang kids, they're adults. But what's happened is that, they've gone out in the world, maybe they got laid off or displaced or something like that, or perhaps they were individuals who went through a divorce. Maybe their marriages didn't work and they're right back home with you. I see some heads nodding, so I know I'm in the right place. Well, yes, we definitely are part of this generation where we not only have to think about what we do for ourselves, but there are other people that we need to be concerned with. And so I just wanted to share with you a little bit from the standpoint that my dad passed away about 8 years ago. And he was an older gentleman, and it was very difficult watching him deteriorate because of dementia. And it was an 8-year long, hard road to go through to watch him as he was going through this process and this deterioration. It was very difficult. And what I have to say is, even as an individual who had been dealing with finances pretty much my entire life, my entire career, it's one thing to deal with the financial aspect, but I had no clue of trying to deal with the financial aspects of helping a parent go through this period, as well as the emotional aspects that are tied in when you're dealing with someone who is struggling with dementia. And so I know that many people don't understand what that whole process is. And so, went through this whole thing with my dad, and, pretty much had to use all his savings and so forth in order to make sure that we had the home care. Letty and I were talking earlier about the services that DAAA provides, and I didn't know anything about DAAA until my dad started to go through this process. And so there are lots of things I think that can be learned and that we need to know in advance. Well, 4 years after my dad passes away, my mom gets really sick, and she has surgery, and she's in the hospital. And she'd had surgeries before, but what was so different about this surgery is the fact that after she came out of it, she couldn't walk, she couldn't feed herself, she had terrible tremors, she wouldn't eat. There were days where if we got a tablespoon of food in her, we were lucky. I mean, it was just a totally, really sad situation, because I'm watching my mom go through this whole deterioration process just like my dad. She lost weight. She was barely over 100 pounds. She had been in the hospital for a month. She was in rehab for 2 months. And so it was just very, very difficult going through this process, and at the same time trying to deal with her financial situation and my own. And so what I'm happy to say, there were periods where, my mom, when we did bring her home from the hospital, and we did have the home care aides that came in and so forth, we had to help her learn how to walk again and everything. it was so challenging watching my mom just barely be skin and bones because she had lost so much weight. Well, I'm happy to say that a week and a half ago, my mom celebrated her 91st birthday, and the doctor has now told her he wants her to lose 40 pounds. So let me tell you, that there is help that's out there. We reached out, we got the help that we needed. What I do want to say, though, is that I'm thinking that maybe my next book should be called "Girl, Get Your Estate Straight," or "Girl, Get Your Mate and Your Estate Straight," because I think that there are so many different issues that we tend to deal with that are very important, and I think this event is spectacular. You guys are going to, there's an opportunity here for you to learn a tremendous amount. What I want to do now is I just want to give you 3 takeaways. I want to give you 3 things that I think are really important. As a financial coach who's worked with people and helped them to deal with their financial issues, there are some common things that I've seen. So the most common thing that I've seen, and I've kind of shared with you my story, which basically is that people tend to live beyond their means. So my advice to you is do not live beyond your means. Don't spend every cent that comes into you. And not only do people live beyond their means, but they also create excessive debt. And for a lot of people, and this was really interesting to me, for a lot of people, the debt that they have is not just credit card debt. Years ago, I had an opportunity to go on the Oprah Winfrey show and did a series of shows with her. How many of you saw The Debt Diet? Anybody, Oprah, watch it? Okay, The Debt Diet. Well, I was the financial coach that was on that program. And she invited us to come on the program to help people in dealing with consumer credit debt. Well, once I got there, what I realized is that a tremendous amount of people were struggling with student loan debt. Right. So, and what's really been interesting is that 39% of African Americans are still dealing with student loan debt, and it's over 20 years old. So, and the numbers are rising in terms of the amount of people that are defaulting on student loan debt. So the number one most common issue is living beyond your means, creating excessive debt. And so it's really important to make sure that you don't do that.
My daughter
your daughter has student loan, yeah.
She got student loan debt and she lives beyond her means.
Okay, yeah, well, she is not alone. And so what is important is for us to look at that from our own perspective, but also this is what we need to be sharing with our children, with our grandchildren, our nieces and nephews. This is information that you can pass on to them. The second thing is,
The third.
no, actually that's all in one. Okay, that's all in one. Common mistakes, living beyond your means, and creating excessive debt. Number 2 is you can pay off your debt and save at the same time. You can do both. Now, we live in a culture where it's kind of black and white, and people tend to think, well, I have to either pay off all my debt or I have to save. You can do both. And so
That's what I do.
you do that. Wonderful, wonderful. So work on, again, paying off your debt and saving at the same time. Now, there are counselors that are here. If you have not signed up for the one-on-one coaching session, I think it's really important that you do that. Because there is a point where I think maybe you really do need to focus on debt as opposed to putting so much in savings. But it is important, I think, for you to focus on both. The third thing is create multiple streams of income and do it while you don't need the money. Do it as soon as possible. Start now. Everybody in this room has different talents and gifts, and I mean, anybody here know how to cook? I know there's some good cooks in this room, I can tell. Well, I mean, you just have no idea how many people there are that can use that service. I'm not one who likes to cook, but there's a woman at my church who bakes cakes, and I'm telling you, after service, she has a trunk load of cakes that she sells out the back of her car. She makes, she sells them by the slice for like $3.50. She, on a Sunday and a Bible study night, she can increase her income over $400 a month. That's almost $5,000 a year of a raise that she gives herself, and she's doing it now while she's young. So everybody has some sort of gifts and talents, and I'm here to say that it's never too early and it's never too late to start doing things that can help to increase your income. So if you begin to minimize your spending and you begin to increase your debt, create those multiple streams of income. You can have rental property. You can start a business. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you got an idea and you've got something that's marketable, aren't there workshops here that are going to talk about that? Exactly. So I really encourage you to do that while you still have energy to just think about it, because even if it's an extra couple $100s a month, it can be a benefit to you. That's a couple $100s that you can put towards your savings in your retirement. The next thing that I want to share with you is what I feel is the key. And for those of you that aren't taking notes, I hope you remember this, because this is the key to managing your money well and the key to being successful with your finances. And it's one word. Anybody know what that word is?
Save.
Save? Budget.
Oh, budget.
Budget.
Budget, yeah.
Budget.
That's what, 'cause I do budget.
Create a budget, or as I like to call it, a spending plan. Okay? Budget, when you think of budgeting, you kind of think restrictive, like, oh, I can't spend any money. Well, a spending plan, what you're doing is you're spending money, you're just spending it in all of the areas that you need to spend it in.
I just learned, I used to do a 30-day budget, but
Good.
I was told do a 90-day budget.
Great.
And that's what I started doing.
Okay.
A 90-day budget.
Excellent,
'Cause
excellent.
It's better.
It is, and you know what? I actually recommend doing a 12-month budget. Because there are different times of the year where your expenses are going to be different, where you got more expenses than other times. So creating a spending plan, doing it on a monthly basis, because all it is it's a way of planning and anticipating where does your money need to go. So now I believe in discipline, but I don't believe in deprivation. So it is important, I think, to make sure that what you're doing is you're anticipating what your expenses are going to be. I think that you need to do it on the 15th of every month. You start doing your budget for the next upcoming month. What's today's date? The 20th?
20th.
Okay, so 5 days ago, you should have put your spending plan together for the month of November. And the reason that you do that is because when November 1st comes, you want to have it all down and you want to be able to just jump right into it. And it gives you 15 extra days if when you do that spending plan or that budget, if there's more that needs to go out than is coming in. So the key to managing your money is creating the budget or the spending plan. And lastly, what I want to say is, I think that it's important not to just want to be financially comfortable. It's important not to just want to be debt-free. We can want all we want, but you really have to be ready. If you're not ready with that right mental mindset in order to position yourself so that you can move forward and create the kind of financial lifestyle that you would like, then nothing is really going to happen. You got to be ready, you got to be serious, and you got to be committed. We may not have as much money coming in on a monthly basis as we would like, but everybody has something that they can work with. So it's really important to do that, and it's also important to be coachable. The people that are here today doing the workshops and presenting to you, these are people, the information that they're going to give you is so good. But if you just take it and you go home and you don't change any of your behaviors, then nothing is going to happen. You're not going to position yourself in a place where you're able to not need a lot of services that you may or may not be able to find. So again, I think that the toolkit that has been prepared for you, it's a jewel. I've looked at it, I've gone through it. I wish I had written it. But it's really great information that is available to you, so please take it and use it as a resource guide. The workshops, as I said, when you go to them, take notes. And I'm so happy to see so many people with your pads and your papers out right now, because you really want to do that when you go to the workshop. But not only do you take notes, but when you leave here, take action. If you don't take action, if you don't implement what you learn, then it's not going to benefit you. So the last thing that I want you to do, I just want you to indulge me for just a moment, and I want you to turn to the person next to you, and I want you to repeat after me with enthusiasm and vigor. I want you to say, friend, I'm ready to get my money and my credit straight, and I'm ready to make my money grow. Excellent. Thank you all very, very much.
Just your name one last time.
My name is Glinda, Glinda, Bridgforth, Bridgforth. I have business cards if anyone would like.
Yeah, I do, I want.
Okay, all right. You got it, you got it. And I'm going to be sticking around for a little bit, so if you guys have any questions, then feel free.
I do have one quick question.
Quick question.
Are any of the books that you wrote available here for purchase today?
They are not available. This is a free seminar. It's free from solicitation, so I don't have them available, but they are available on Amazon.
I'll get your card.
Okay, you got it.